Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you happen to be. Dr. D. Craney with my S Life, and I want to talk about someday. Someday thinking. Someday is just a thought, and I want to talk about how it's not serving you. So, and someday has a bunch of other excuse friends that like to creep into our brain and prevent us from creating the change that we seek and want in our life. And so, someday I'll get to the thing. Someday I'll achieve that. Someday I will make life better. Someday I will feel better. Someday I will lose the weight, whatever you put in after someday, right? I'm sure that there's things in your life that you could put behind someday right now. And here are some variations of that thought, some of someday's excuse friends. Eventually, I'll get to it. When I finish, and then fill in the blank, all of the other things that you feel like you need to get done just after whatever that, all the, the list of other things. It's really interesting too, is most of the things that we're putting ahead of the change that we want are not as important, right? It's like the urgent, the fires, other people's priorities, but not really the thing that we want in our heart. I love this one. When I have more help, when I have more motivation, when I have more time, when I have more money, when I have more energy, when I have more. What are you thinking that you need before you can start working on that change you desire? The inverse, when I have less. When I have less obligations, when I have less demands, when I have fewer things on my plate, when I have less stress, right? What are you putting behind when I have less of? What do you need less of to be able to work on your goals, the change that you desire? First, I have to learn more. I have to save more. I have to pay off debt. I have to, do all of these things. So what do you think you have to do first before you'll be able to start working on that change? And I love this one. Somebody's little friend. When I get lucky, when a miracle happens, right? Like there has to be divine intervention because it's just so impossible for you. And so here's the problem with Sunday thinking, my friends. I have definitely been in this trap. I probably spent many years feeling like I needed to first finish my degrees. I needed to finish school. I needed to learn more. I had to, I had to pay off my debt. I had to do this. I had to do that. When I had more time, when I had a less demanding job, I've had all of Someday's excuse friends in my life before, right? The problem is when you're leaning into someday thinking, first of all, it doesn't feel good. It feels pretty shitty, right? Because you're wanting change, but you're really not doing anything to move towards it. So you're stuck in a place of wanting. The second reason why this is a problem is that it really makes us feel powerless to external conditions, right? We feel like all of these other things outside of us have to change. And a lot of times, like some of those things we don't feel like are under our control. Like the economy needs to be better before I can, right? So then you're powerless to create the change that you want because all these other people, these other players, all the stars have to align before you can go after the change you want. The third part of the problem is that when you've been wanting for quite some time, when you've been wanting change, but not doing anything to create it, your brain will start to lie to you and tell you that you are broken for not having it. Oh, well, if you weren't such an idiot, you would have started school already. If you weren't such a fat ass, you'd get off the couch and go for a run. Our brain wants to convince us that we're broken for not having it, even though we haven't really tried to create the change. It bullies us even when we haven't committed to getting it. Do you see how that happens in your life? I know I've done that, right? Like, you make the decision to sit on the couch and eat the cookies and Netflix and chill. But then the whole time you sit there and berate yourself for being such a fat ass for eating the cookies and watching Netflix rather than going for a run. Someday thinking comes with a whole lot of underlying expectations. We expect that someday we'll finally feel ready to create this change. But here's the deal. All great changes, you rarely feel ready for. You're never going to finally feel ready. Like think about, parenting. A lot of people get into that trap where they're like, oh, well, I'm not ready for it yet. Eventually I'll be ready enough. But like at every age, there's challenges in being a parent. You're never really I don't think I've ever met someone who actually ever felt completely ready to be a parent. But we do this with our goals. An expectation that someday brings along with is that change is only really available under ideal conditions, right? Like all of the stars have to align. All of things have to be perfect in my life to be able to finally work on this thing that I really want, which is a load of bull, right? Like rarely are all of the conditions perfect. Maybe we'll have one thing that's right, maybe two, but usually there's so many different areas of our life going on that if we're trying to wait until everything is perfectly aligned, we'll never get started. Someday thinks it's just magically going to happen, right? We're going to get to this future state and the change is just magically going to appear. That you'll just get to arrive without having to do the work of the change. That's a silly little expectation that someday likes to offer us, right? Or bring along. We also, there's this expectation that we need an external push, that's always the best motivator, right? And we do see this sometimes. People get sick and that's the push they need to finally live a healthy lifestyle. But we also see sometimes there are external pushes that don't work. I mean, we're all kind of living through one right now, right? So how many times have you thought, I need more time to be able to do the thing, to create the change? And right now, a lot of us are finding ourselves with this external push that is the global pandemic and sheltering in place. And we still haven't created the change, right? It hasn't motivated us to make the change. We're still thinking we need a bigger someday. And the last expectation that someday brings is that it won't be so uncomfortable in the future, right? We think about the weight loss, fixing the relationship, going after that big change as being really uncomfortable, that we'll have to risk failure, that we'll have to risk rejection, that we'll have to stand up for ourselves, that we're going to have to change our routines, that we're going to finally have to feel confident enough to do the thing. And that's really uncomfortable to think about, doing that right now. And that maybe in the future we'll finally make peace with that, or it just won't be uncomfortable. But the reality is any change that's fucking worth it is uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. Our brain does not want us to change, even if our current habits of thinking and habits of behavior are not serving us, because our brain ties survival to not changing. Crazy, right? So here's how you overcome someday thinking. There's only one thing that you need to do. You need to decide how bad you want that change. So whatever that change is that you keep putting off to the future, that you've been bullying yourself for not doing, ask yourself this question: how bad do I want it? And you have two options, and only two. I want to remove all of the other drama, all of the other garbage. Two choices. One, you commit and go all in. Today is the day. Start working on the change today. Or number two, you finally release the wanting. Stop torturing yourself. If you're not ready to do it today, stop wanting it, because it's sitting in that space of wanting and then beating yourself up because you're not doing it that feels like shit. If you're not ready to commit, then you don't want the thing. Release it, let it go. Or commit and go all in. And if that's what, think about the change that you've been wanting for so long right now. How bad do you want it? Are you willing to commit, or are you going to release it? If you're going to commit, what's one thing I can do right now in this moment to make forward action? What's the next smallest minimal step that I can take towards creating that change? And go for it. Otherwise, that release it, because it ain't serving you. Don't get into that habit of beating yourself for wanting change and always delegating it to someday. I hope this helps you, because I know that this is a pattern that my brain has repeated over and over and over in life, and it feels like garbage. It's not fun. And so here's the thing. I don't want you to ever come and just learn something. I want you to apply it. So in the comments, tell me how someday thinking shows up in your life. Ooh, my calendar just reminded me of something. It scared the crap out of me. Sorry. So tell me how someday thinking shows up in your life. Tell me what kind of goals you keep delegating to someday, and tell me if you're ready to commit or if you're going to finally release them so you can know peace and joy and contentment right now in this moment. I hope you're having a beautiful Friday, and I will talk to you again soon. Ciao, ciao.